few years ago, my brother-in-law invited me to go on a horseback riding trek with a client of his from Price, Utah. And this guy was a really experienced rancher and he knew his way around horses. He knew a lot about horses and he even had a few horses that he was going to lend us to go on this trail ride. All of his horses were well trained, which was good because I wasn't a very experienced rider. But the one I was assigned to ride hadn't been very far away from home yet and was unfamiliar with the place that we were going. Little did I know, but I was about to learn a very important life lesson. For the most part, our trip was uneventful. We enjoyed the landscape as we rode single file along the trail. That was until we came to our first water crossing. All of the horses in front of me crossed the stream with no problem, but my horse had never crossed a stream like this before. This was something new for it, and it stopped short, unwilling to get into the water. In fact, it started to turn around and go back down the trail, no matter what I did to try to stop it. Fortunately, our wise guide Clay saw what was going on, and he yelled across the river and said, "Don't let him get away with that. You turn him back around. Show him who's the boss. You make him go across that river." I yelled, "I'm trying to, but it just wants to go this way." And he said, "Don't let it. Put your heels into its side and turn it back around. Make it face the water. If it tries to go left or right, you keep turning it back toward the water until it goes in." So I followed his instructions and I turned my horse around and I faced it toward the water. And when it got to the water, it turned left. And he said, "Make it turn right." So I faced it toward the water again, and then it turned right. And he said, "Make it turn left." And I turned it and faced it toward the water again. He said, "Now press on it with your heels and give it a cluck. Tell it it's going to be okay." I watched my horse as it started to sweat and fret, but eventually it took a step into the water, and then it went 2 feet into the water, and then before you know it, the whole thing was in the water, and it crossed the stream with no problem. I learned two very important lessons that day. One, Clay's not only good with horses, he's good with people. And two, if you want a horse to do something, you have to keep pointing it in the right direction. Eventually it will do it. On the way back, I noticed that my horse had learned something. It wasn't afraid to get into the water anymore. It went right into the water. And in fact, it didn't want to get out of the water. It started to play in the water and paw at it and splash around. I had to make it continue along the trail. The lesson that I learned is that that small child inside of me is a lot like that horse. It's a little reluctant to move into things that it doesn't know or understand very well. It doesn't really want to go and do those things because it doesn't know what can happen. It has the tendency to put up some resistance, and I need to be aware of that. If I want to get it to do what I want it to do, I've got to keep pointing it in the right direction. And eventually it will go there. And not only will it go there, the next time that it's faced with a similar situation, it won't have as much resistance. In fact, it might even want to do it again.